From the Fathead Studio in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Oh, there you are, sweet Jesus. Come back to Papa.
The highs and lows, are just can be pretty brutal, that place. But, I think that's what is so fun about it is the challenges.
I saw Will Power smack the wall out of 4 with 10 to go. He's still going.
Dixon?
No. Connor.
Oh, Connor, yeah.
Yeah, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, Connor, and, you got to pick a direction, pal, and I'll stick with you.
Oh, I don't know. You lose track about halfway through.
I go to move when it's full of methanol. Both of them are full of methanol. Big bang. I turn around and the glasses are smoking. And he goes, whoa, good thing you gave me those, right?
I'm Scott Dixon.
I'm Antron Brown.
Hey, I'm Ron Cap.
I'm Connor Daly.
I'm James Hinchcliffe.
I'm Rico Abreu, and this is The Skinny.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny. We are already laughing here on this show. Rico Abreu has joined us in the set. I'm Ken Stout. That's Rico Elmore. We have Michael Young back behind us. He is running all the controls. He's been yelling at us as well.
It's going to be a day.
Trying to get Abreu to say his name, and this is The Skinny, and it was quite an ordeal. It's Rico 1 and 2. I don't know, or Rico 1 and 2. I still don't know which Rico is 1 and which Rico is 2.
Well, we're twins.
Yeah, obviously twins.
He's 6 minutes older than me, is how it all worked
out.
out.
So he's the big brother.
Big brother, yep.
Big and little.
And then, of course, we had to have a discussion about which camera he was going to look at, number 4 or number 5, or the one on the left or the one on the right. We finally got it sorted out, though. Hey, man, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
Are you the first time in the studio?
Yes.
Because we've had you on the show a couple of times.
Yeah, a few times.
But I think they were remote.
Over the phone, and I think once on Zoom or one of those.
Yeah, we had him on the system where he was. We were counting down the donuts. How many did when the?
Oh yeah, at the Chili Bowl.
He bent the front end up of Coons' car afterwards.
I'm sure Keith was quite all right with it that night.
Fine.
Yeah. Well, he won $10,000, so he was fine.
Yeah, 2-time Chili Bowl winner. Phenomenal effort there. Of course, if you're not familiar with Rico Abreu, 2013 National Midget Rookie of the Year, 2014 USAC champ, and Sprint Week, or I should say Midget Week. Not much you didn't accomplish over the course of that time when you were running in USAC.
Yeah, I think this is my 12th season full-time racing. So those are some good career highlights. Chili Bowl wins, back-to-back Midget Week wins, championship in 15, I think, or 14, and and it all comes down to just being around good people. Keith Coons, Pete Willoughby, right when Toyota was really getting hot in the USAC stuff, developing their Speedway Toyota engine. So I was just, it's all timing at the end of the day for me, and being at the right place at the right time with the right team. I know, Larson was there a year before me, and that was really when they were having difficulties through the engine development stuff, and knocked him out of the championship a few times, and then he really took off in the Xfinity and Cup stuff after that, so it really stopped his chance of winning a USAC championship. But I'm sure he'll come back one year and go after it again. So
he'll come back, run part-time, and win it.
Yeah, rumor has it he has a little bit of talent.
He's doing all right.
Seems to do okay with whatever he hops into, so it's pretty incredible. We are also talking about your prelim night wins. I think it's 7 now. I mean,
yeah,
5 in a row.
Wednesday night's a good night for us at the Chili Bowl. So all in a Keith Coons Motorsports car. We've won 5 prelims in a row, which just shows the integrity and just the stoutness in KKM's organization. And every year they bring solid cars and that are racing to win the driller. So, I've been really, really good the last few years there. I finished 3rd last year, 2nd the year before that, I think, and just close. And I think that's all you can do is put yourself in position every year, and eventually you win another one of them things.
Yeah,
so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's nothing that Coons brings there that you have to worry about. I mean, it's
the stack of drivers, the stack of cars is absolutely second to none. How he even gets it all done and then gets it there and then takes care of it all of it all week long is nothing short of exceptional.
It speaks for itself. Over the last decade at Chili Bowl, KKM's been in the hunt on the prelim nights and on Saturday night for the A main. They bring 15, 16 cars, and they'll get 10 of them in the feature. So it's, with drivers with not that much experience at the Chili Bowl, you see have success there in their program, and then you see guys like Christopher and myself and Buddy Colfoyd who have experience there, and 5 prelims in a row for us, and and Christopher's right up there as well with those prelim wins and Chili Bowl wins. It's just that race gets tougher and tougher every year. People step their game up. Obviously you see a guy like Tanner Thorson win last year. Is kind of self-built team there, with some helping from the Ryan Bulls at the time, and he went in there on his own and won the race. And then you see, you can never count out them guys, and it takes one time you hit it right, and you can beat everybody.
Well, we talk about it all the time. I mean, the level of competition. I mean, in the C mains alone, but every single night, every one of those prelim nights, the A main is an A main dream of talent that any promoter would love to have.
Absolutely, and you have 24 of the best drivers, and it all evens out at the end of the week. And the cream rises to the top when that A main comes, and it's the race everyone wants to win. I mean, there's not that many people that have won it, and it's a week long of racing. You're obviously not racing every single day, but there's something to do there every day. If it's not watching the best races, you're mingling around in the pits. It's a vacation for a lot of people too. I mean, that's the second week of January every year. Everyone marks that off to make sure they're there.
You guys have your merch program there, does
Yep.
well, and it's always a great showing.
It's a big event for me. It's probably my biggest week of racing, of the year, where it's, we're your race fans and your drivers.
And so, one of the things, Keith with Tony, putting Tony in a, 1-1 with Tony.
Yeah.
Which is
92, I think, or 94.
Yeah, something.
The year I was born.
He's old, so it's okay. I can't say much. We're close, but anyhow.
We talk about the Chili Bowl all the time, and you mentioned the week long of racing, but your particular prelim night, it's pretty intense. You start off with your heat race. And you can't afford to lose a position. You can easily end up in a C or a B on your prelim night and find yourself deep in a hole right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's the heat race is everything. You have to pass a car. If you don't pass a car, you're in trouble. You just got to get one and get yourself. The way I break that race down, I always just try to put myself in position. Whatever happens, happens. Some of it's out of your control. Some of it you can put by putting yourself in position, you at least give yourself an opportunity to, and it all starts at the heat race. You got to get through the heat race, finish, and then you put yourself in a qualifier. I think they take the top 40 in points and invert them 6 qualifiers or something around that number. And, you get through the qualifier, and then that lines you up where you're, C or obviously A main or B main on your prelim night, and I think there's a C main too. They've opened that up now to start racing Monday, so it's really spread the field across the board there with.
But it used to be, if I'm not mistaken, it used to be the top 3. Now it's just the top
it's
2
top
that
2.
advance into the A main for Saturday.
You got to win.
Yeah,
that's all it comes down to.
So pretty impressive stuff. And I say the guys that are successful at it every single time, when you see them, people like you that come in every week, it's like, oh man, he got lucky in the heat race, or he got lucky in his qualifier, he got lucky. You don't get lucky that many years in a row. There's an absolute method to the madness for sure, and people like you have got it figured out.
100%, and it all comes down to, me being able to race with Keith Coons and that organization, and they're just doing an unbelievable job preparing those cars for the Chili Bowl. And I've ran the car I've been running that race is the car they built it's his last Bullet car that he built internally, and it's probably 20-year-old car, and it's just a frame, and we just I just take care of it every year.
Stay with us. Whenever we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about Rico Abreu's car. I'm curious what the inside looks like. We'll be right back.
You seeing, you know, the tracks where they had big cushions or they were wet, you know, and all the guys were tight, I could really run where they couldn't.
The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And General Tire. General Tire delivers.
We have the 2013 USAC Midget Champ with us here. First time we've had him in the studio, Rico Abreu. Second or third time we've had him on the show. Great to have him in the studio, though. He's been so successful. He and his father are a huge part of a number of careers that are out there, which we'll cover in just a little bit. But I want to ask him, which I think a lot of people that have not been up close and personal and had a chance to look at his car, I want to know how they build your car. What is different about your car? You're extremely successful in it, as good as anybody that's climbed in one. But what are the special attributes to that car that they have to do for you?
Yeah, it's you know, the average person to go and look inside my cockpit, what really wouldn't tell that big of a difference. Just with my shortness and stature, my arms, I need to sit a little bit closer to reach the steering wheel, and then we have these like shoe boxes that sit on the floorboard of the sprint car right in between the torque tube. And they're up 6 inches, and everything's just lifted up, and the A-frames push forward 6 inches just for me to reach. And it's all standard parts that were used to build it for me to be able to be really comfortable. And you know, from the first day I sat in a sprint car, I really got introduced to them by the Kading family, and Brent Kading was knowledgeable enough to be able to structure the car for me and know. Because at the time I didn't really know what comfy was when you're sitting in one, and or what I needed to reach and didn't need to reach. So, you know, they got me close enough and made modifications with the A-frame and then the foot pedals being raised up. So it's really haven't changed anything since then, 12 years ago, and it's just keep remaking it and racing it.
You would have thought that Brent would have done a better job guarding you from Bud, but apparently he didn't do that. Is that how that worked?
There was some of the best days of my life were racing with them, and
yeah.
You know, and then once I did a season and a half with them, and really wanted to travel a little bit more out this way and go to some big races, and that was the only way I was gonna get better in my career, is traveling and racing against the World of Outlaws, you know, more often, and you know, getting outside of California. You just have to be careful sometimes, just getting stuck in your own ways, and you know, being able to travel and race with the Premier Series and race on different track conditions, and all that does is help your experience level when you go back to those circumstances and knowing what to do and what not to do while you're racing.
And when you came out here, who was here first, you or Kyle? Because I remember that, wasn't it Davey? Because your dad told me the whole story, which I kind of knew a lot of the story, but your dad told me it was you and Kyle, and it's like, we want to go to Indiana, we want to race sprint car, you know. So he would go through that a little bit. I mean, that was
so. When I first got introduced to sprint car racing, you know, the Larson family really pushed us to because through growing up through the go-kart stuff, it was the same kind of career path Kyle Larson took. So it was, you know, with the caged karts in Chico's, California at Cycleland Speedway. And then Larson's parents said, hey, you need to get with the Kading family. They're at the top tier of sprint car racing, and just knowledge of, for me to be able to get with the best people. And so Brent Kading and Bud Kading designed this car for me to race, and Brent started coming to the races, and then they started maintaining the car for us, just to help us get up to speed quicker on what we need to be doing. And then that's kind of Kyle went in the direction of he got with Keith Coons right around, it was like that 2011 time. Keith brought him, so he was going back and forth from racing the Kading sprint car, a separate team internally in the at Kading Performance, and then going back and forth with the USAC stuff and the sprint car at Kading's when he won the NARC championship and stuff. And then Kyle, my dad started to, they wanted to race sprint cars out here, and my dad got with Davy Jones and said, hey, let's build a sprint car team for Larson. And that's kind of how it all got turned on there. And things were happening fast. And so Larson and I started flying back and forth, racing non-wing. We went to it was raining in California, and they canceled a race. And we called Davy Jones at like 3 in the morning. Hey, we're going to be there tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Can we can you have the car ready for Kyle to race?
A solid 15 hours. I mean, we'll get one ready.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 2 ready.
And I think that's what your dad was telling me about.
it was so
like,
crazy.
we're leaving. We're going to Indiana to race.
He's like, yeah, just go race. Just go do it.
So I know I've also heard a couple of people along the way talk about you and Keith Coons and that special relationship, and obviously in the midget, maybe it applies in the sprint car. I would think it would as well. Do you think there's an advantage? Was he able to place weight in that car in places that other people are not able to place it?
I think a little bit. He could get the weight moved around. Just more around the cockpit area. If it needed it be lower on the floorboard, there was room, there was space, just with how compact I was in the car. But really, what we understood through the years we raced together was that he was able to do things to the car that like he couldn't do with a bigger driver that sat so far back over the rear end, where he was allowed to, he could get the car a lot tighter, or
he could center the weight almost better.
His balance was with his setup. Like, there's so much weight of the way you transfer when you're racing. If you have a guy like Shane Cottle or Dave Darlin in the car, or Christopher Bell, where you sit right against the rear end, there, and then you fill it up full of fuel, there's a lot of weight over those rear tires. So he was able to obviously move weight around, and then I was sat so far forward, it kind of just made the rear of the car light, where you could get it softer with the torsion bars or the shocks, and really get it into the track and driving. And you've seen, the tracks where they had big cushions or they were wet, and all the guys were tight. I could really run where they couldn't up over the cushion, pounding the cushion, and it wasn't, biking up or doing anything silly on me as it would for a bigger driver or an average size driver that sits so far back over the rear end.
That's great information. I've often been very curious about that and what really triggered my brain was whenever you said he had to raise everything. Of course, you want a low CG if possible, but he has to raise you up so you can see where you're going, obviously.
Yeah.
But moving you forward, I know would help, as you just talked about, that rear weight, but then being able to move that ballast around and get some of that weight back down low. It's pretty cool to watch the guys that are good at it get a car exactly the way they want.
Yeah, it's fun to drive.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more here on The Skinny.
I'm not running it this year, but I'm here for the
I'm sorry, we stopped the show here. You can leave.
Yeah. He lives here.
We have Rico Abreu on the set with us here today. Great to have him spend a little bit of time with us. I'm sure getting ready for the BC 39. Is that why you're in town?
I'm not running it this year, but I'm here for the
I'm
Knoxville
sorry, we
Nationals.
stopped the show here. You can leave.
Yeah. He lives here.
You're not running it. Wow.
Unfortunately not. Just a lot going on preparing my sprint car for I got 2 big weeks coming up, the Ironman 55 with the World of Outlaws this weekend, and then the Knoxville Nationals leading right into it. So we got busy schedule. We just came from Knoxville, so I feel like we got a really, really good tune-up for
Congrats
that
on
place.
that, by the
Thank
way.
You
just came from Knoxville with a win with the
it was
All-Stars. Yeah,
cool. We got to the lead the last few laps of the race, and my car's been phenomenally good the last few months here, and it's been a lot of fun to drive it.
Big confidence builder to win one at Knoxville, knowing Knoxville's coming up here in a week or so.
Oh yeah, 100%. Anytime you win at Knoxville, it's good. Just good notes and data too for us, and we've gone there 6 times I think this year, and we've been okay. And then my crew chief Rick Warner really just dialed her in, and it was a pretty special win for me.
That's what I was going to ask you. How special is it to run with him?
It's-
What an amazing dude.
It's been a lot of fun. Just his experience and knowledge that he brings to our team really excels my learning curve for sprint car racing, and And just being around him, he can kind of get me spun out sometimes just by asking so many questions. And and he's the biggest thing, I think what gets us up to speed fast at these races is he's not afraid to make change, and I mean wholesale change to the setups and different torsion bars and changing wings. And
he wears a shock dyno out.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, like I was when he was working with Tony and of course Donnie before. I mean, I was sitting there watching him. I was like, wow. And I mean, it's nonstop. Don't talk to him during race, like the whole deal, because he is going.
And and that's what it takes to win races nowadays. And that's it just takes a lot of concentration to understand kind of where your race car is on the track. And and he is, and I'm very fortunate to be able to race with him, and he's someone that can bring me to the next level in racing. And then that's really what I've been looking for is getting with somebody that wants to race with me and believes in me. And it's hard to find that. It's hard to find people that have a true passion for the sport of sprint car racing, and that's all he thinks about.
He wants to win, nonstop. Wants to win.
Every you never see lack of motivation in a guy like him, and it's
down sick and was still doing it.
It'd make it happen.
I mean, when he was going through his bout with cancer and everything, and fought right through it. Love his wife, bestie. Love her. She is as rowdy as any of us, and I can understand why, being married to him. So clearly, I mean, that makes sense to me. But
strong needs strong, right? Strong begets strong.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've become really close with his family, and it's his son actually, Drew Warner, actually used to work on my race car for a few years, and we had a good time, and just kind of went different direction at the end of the year. And in 2017, we won 2 World of Outlaw races together. So it was really fun, and just like I said, it's just it can be difficult to just, and on top of that, maintaining your team as an owner driver. Obviously I have a partnership with my father, and the support he's given me over the years with racing, and I've really taken this team under my wing and allowed my father just to come and enjoy racing and trying to do this. It was time to grow up, and I gotta either get in or get out when you're at this level, or you're just, you're putting yourself in a dangerous position, buckling in, going out there all the time if you're not doing it 100%. It's it's just enjoying it. And my father's at a point in his life where he just needs to enjoy it, and he loves. It's hard for him to get in and out of these races, but he loves, following. And he's the first one to call me after the race every night and tell me everything I did wrong or tell me good job. I get a few of those every now and then, but it's, it's this, I'm just in a really lucky position to be where I'm at in my career right now and racing with people I want to race with. And it has really got me motivated to, just to stay grinding.
Yeah, it's racing. Generally speaking, I think it's such a great vehicle, such a great tool to keep multiple generations connected, you and your father. I mean, if it wasn't for racing, maybe there would be something else for you guys, but in so many situations where you see fathers and sons, obviously their ages are so far apart, they tend to grow apart. They don't have a whole lot of common ground in the middle, but I think racing really provides that for all of us.
Yeah, and the big picture of this whole thing, it's everyone's family when it comes down to it, and you see it. If it's a vacation for somebody or it's work for them or it's, they're there to put food on the table. And, there's only, a few elite teams and in the country that make it, work to win championships. And it's very difficult. It's a very humbling sport. It changes every weekend with the tires and the packages we show up to race, the track, the conditions. Everything changes, and it's hard to be consistent right now. And you're getting one tire a night, and you're fighting stagger stuff, and the cost of materials gone up, and the sport's getting a little more expensive. But then there's some races, Tony with the Kings Royal really ramping it up there, and that's what excites me about sprint car racing.
I love it because racing doesn't know who you are, nor does it care. You could be some high elite person. It doesn't care. If you don't work hard, dig hard every single day, somebody's going to make you pay the price.
Yeah, and it's you see a guy like Anthony Macri and Buddy Colfoyd. We were at the All-Star race on Friday night at I-70 for the Rudine Foundation, and they ran first and second in the feature, and on Saturday night they were 12th and 13th in the B main.
Amazing stuff for sure. It is a tough business, but it's so much fun. We love it every single week. Stay with us. We have plenty more coming your way with Rico Abreu.
Pigs into the program. That's exactly where this is headed.
What's the rule book say? Where's the gray area on that? Right.
They didn't drug test back then, so you're okay.
The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. General Tire. General Tire delivers. And Toyota. Toyota. Let's go places.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Once again, Ken Stout with you. Rico Elmore sitting alongside the track dude, the clock Nazi, back behind.
Clock Nazi, baby.
Behind the controls. That is Michael Young having a great time in here with Rico Abreu, who's come in to join us, is having a great year, of course, has been so successful in his motorsports endeavors. However, we're going to shift gears here just a little bit because whenever you take a look at his car, or maybe it was Kyle Larson's car, or a couple of others along the way, you'll see Abreu Vineyards on the side of them, and it is a very special place. Of course, wine, whenever you hear vineyards, screams wine right off the bat, but also virgin olive oil, blackberries, olives themselves, a little bit of everything on there. And Rico brought up something. I don't want to get off on it just yet. I want to let him talk about it, but we've got to hear about the pigs as well. Apparently that's a new addition, but talk to us about that vineyard.
Yeah, so, outside of wine, outside of racing, before racing, I was 4-H and FFA through my high school or middle school and high school years, and so we showed one of our projects was hog showmanship or hog raising, and they basically we raised an animal. We chose pigs, and because we already kind of had a farm on the property where they kept pigs years ago, and so we raised this animal, and then we would take it to the county fair and show it. So when I was 7.5 years old, we got our first one. We bought him from a family up north of us. And then, my father's involvement, we wanted to bring the best pigs every year to the county fair.
I was just getting ready to say, they brought outlaw pigs into the program. That's exactly where this is headed.
What's the rule book say? Where's the gray area on that? Right.
They didn't drug test back then, so we were okay.
No tire testing.
But they, so it really grew and blew up for us. And my brother and sister, they showed after I did over the years. So at one point, we were all showing against each other right when I was leaving, and really started focusing on racing. So Rico's seen the hog farm, and it's a little different than your average farm.
It's a pretty plush hog farm. I mean, he was showing me the the air system that goes in there, to keep them comfortable.
They're not living like pigs.
No, there was really no pig living, and they were feeding them about the time we were getting ready to leave, and man, I'm telling you, all hell was breaking loose back there. They were having a big time with it, but yeah, I mean, I was, again, like I said earlier, I was so impressed with the whole operation, and then Tony Stewart and Leah, then fiance, now wife, Leah was all of those guys went last year. I didn't get to make it. And all they talked about, I mean, yeah, all of the other stuff was great and everything. The wine, I mean, just amazing as you could imagine. But they were talking about the pigs. And I was like, okay, pigs. Like, I was like, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? And then I saw the pigs. I was like, wow, these are really amazing. You know what I mean? It was just so cool the way, the way they were built. I mean, It was definitely the World of Outlaws pig versus the 305 wing sprint show. So
at your local track,
yeah.
You said there's special techniques that food and stuff that they give them.
Yeah, just timing. And these are show animals, so they get really serious about the structure of the animal and the breed of the animal. There's certain breeds that crossbred, and then Durocs are the all brown pigs, and then they have Hampshires that are belted hogs. And then there's purebred Yorkshires that are all white, purebred, and they have certificates that prove it. And it's about timing when you're feeding, the structure of the animal, so how you present it to the judge when you show it. So there and at these shows, there's two separate shows. There's a showmanship that they judge you showing the animal, and then the market side of it is they judge the animal. And there's there people raise animals all across the country, so you compete at different shows. There's jackpot, and then national shows and regional shows, and so they have a whole truck and trailer that hauls the animals.
Hold on a minute. The trailer is air conditioned. The trailer is nicer than most haulers that I've seen. So
they live good lives.
Great stuff here with Rico Abreu. We're learning a little bit more about this man. He's not all about racing. He's a pretty complex individual, and we'll find out some more yet. Stay with us.
He had his first wine vintage in, I think, 86 that he declassified. Said it tastes like vinegar, so he didn't sell it.
Once again, welcome back. We are in Speedway, Indiana. This is The Skinny. We have Rico Abreu on the set here with us today and learning a little bit more about him, not just on the racing side, but on the vineyard side as well. Your father, David, you grew up there. Did he kick that off? Is that an original project by him?
Yeah, my father started his vineyard management business in 1980. A friend of ours, where we all grew up, our kind of our headquarters, our ranch that we have, they had cattle on it, and it was right in the Napa Valley, the heart of the Napa Valley. And at the time, people were starting to get into planting vineyards and making wine, and my dad approached our friends and said, hey, I think you can make a little more money here with having vineyard on your property, and I'll manage it all for you. And that's where everything kind of started in the 80s for him. And he had his first wine vintage in, I think, 86 that he declassified. Said it tastes like vinegar, so he didn't sell it. And then everything kind of just grew from there. And he was maintaining a couple client ranches where he did all the field work and basically delivered their grapes right to their winery, and then they made their wine. And that's on the management side. And then the wine side, he made a little bit of wine on the side from each property that he owns now, and sells some of the grapes to clients, and then keeps some of the grapes for himself to make his own wine.
So I'm guessing we can just run to any sort of liquor store and grab a bottle?
It's hard to get. There's not a lot of it.
The answer is no. Just say no.
But it's out there. So if you see it,
is it really?
You should try it. Yeah,
But there's a waiting list, correct?
Yes, they have a waiting list on the website, and then they do some very minimal. They have some distributors in like Chicago and New York, and gets them into some nice restaurants that they do well selling his wine there.
And you know what the price structure is?
I do not, because I'm not at that level.
It's not wholesale. I'll
Right.
put it to you that way. And I love that. He was telling me how, you buy a bottle, or me, Mr. Restaurant, buys a bottle, guess what?
Same price, huh?
It's all the same.
Yeah, they're very strict about that. And what he is, his price is up there, but he's up there because that's what his wine costs, and you try to be to the market where there's not a lot of markup on your wine on the other end, and so you're selling it for what it's worth.
So where the cave is, which I got to go to the cave. We were drinking right out of the barrels, not quite like I wanted to, but we were. He had this thing he puts in there, you know, and he pulls it out. And I'm like, oh, sweet mother. And then he gives me a droplet. I'm like, oh, go ahead. You can put more in there. It's okay. I mean,
It'll hold more.
I mean, there's clearly enough glass here. We can fill the rest of that thing up. And, but anyhow, we walked in the other building, you know, your guys' friend that has the other place. And
Cliff Lady's place.
Yeah. And he was showing me the fruit sorter, the grape sorter, if you will, and how this thing, you know, it's I'm a super freak about how it's made. You know, the show could watch all day, right? Well, you know, these grapes are flying through this thing, but it's got an air thing, psst, 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 and it's kicking out the grapes.
Bad berries. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's got a digital eye on the end of the. It's got and then a little air gun, and it sorts the bad berry, and it blows it off and into a conveyor on another end of it, and basically that's how it divides all the good fruit from the bad fruit.
Is there anything? Can anything be done with the quote bad berries?
No, they'll just put them in the. They'll actually put them like compost them is to create compost. So and a bad berry is considered like a raisin or it just a shriveled up, dried up raisin.
Gotcha.
But the other cool part of it is, in you know not that Cliff stuff is inferior by any means, but it's more of a production wine.
Yeah, a little different process.
Yeah, it's more of a production wine, and I mean you're you know
it's going quick.
It's going way quick. Well, you know they hand sort everything at Abreu, and I mean it is.
Wow.
I mean
On a
it's just,
similar machine, it's got a big conveyor belt, and they throw the berries. Basically, when you harvest the grapes, you hand pick them from the vine on. Then you have a cluster of grapes, and you put it in on the first conveyor belt, and it goes into like a sorter that breaks the berries off of the clusters, or a shaker, and it's supposed to not protect the berry from breaking, and then once it goes through that machine, it goes on another conveyor belt, and that's where they hand pick the bad berries. Just a little different process, and a lot slower and more gentle with the fruit. And then it goes right into the fermentation tanks, and you start your fermentation process.
How many years ahead of time do you
My dad's 4 years behind.
4 years behind.
Yeah, so he's and it's very difficult to get into that in the wine industry because you're sitting
into that rotation.
Yeah, I mean when you purchase a vineyard or when you purchase a property with no vines, you're you're 3 years before you even get grapes on your vines.
Yeah.
So to get in your dad's process, that's a 7-year swing.
I mean, before you even sell a bottle of wine.
Yeah, and here's the thing, there isn't much flat out there. It's,
it's a lot of terrain.
It is wild. Like I was looking at the property over by where the plane.
Yeah, the airport property.
Yeah, the airport property, and I mean it is straight up this hill, and I was like, okay, how do you plant that? You know, like I was going through all these things and you know harvesting it and everything.
How many
like
acres?
That.
So he has 4 ranches, and they're all around like 60. They're 200. Some 2 of them are 200-acre ranches. But there's probably only about 60 acres of vineyard. In the valley, they passed, there's a board, or the county, or each county has different codes, but you're only allowed 30% of your property to be vineyard. That's the max they'll give you. So it's 70-30, 70 forest land, 30 vineyard.
It's not often you can watch a racing show and learn about how to make wine, but there's more coming your way. Stay with us. Rico Abreu's in the house.
We would fight all the way up there, yelling at each other about when to stop, we need to go to the bathroom.
So nothing's changed. Nothing's changed at all.
The Skitty is brought to you by General Tire. General Tire delivers. Toyota. Let's go places. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04.
Welcome back to The Skinny. We have Rico Abreu alongside. We're going to find out what the future is for this man. But first, I want to find out how it all just began. Why? Because we were talking during the commercial break, and it's a great story. So tell us what happened, how that first racetrack, your first kart that you were in, tell us how all that developed.
It happened fast. I had some friends of ours, our neighbors that live down the street. They used to race at Vallejo Speedway just north of us or south of us in St. Helena, and they raced the Cage Outlaw karts. So they would race on Fridays and Saturdays, and then Sunday they would take their karts out front and wash them. And I would always love to run down there on my bike and just hang out with them. And I was so fascinated that, like, it was, there was no real general racing around me. Calistoga Speedway at the time that only ran once a year, and that's when I really understood about sprint car racing and seeing the Outlaws back then come there into town, and Jack Honchild and Daniel Lasowski, and they had that Harvest Classic race at Calistoga, and really started following racing. And then my father purchased a go-kart that our neighbor friends helped us build, and took me to the races. And then my dad's business partner, Rich Stadelhofer, had the equipment to build a racetrack, and we pulled some vineyard out and put a racetrack in. As
what a great investment.
Some of you've seen over photos, and we put on some events there at times. When Larson and Stenhouse were all in the town for the Cup weekend and in Sonoma, and did an event in Ganassi, and everybody came up to check it out, and it was really just special times in my life to be a part of something like that, and for everybody to come see my father's business and a place, and all right there in our backyard. So, and then just going through the ranks of go-kart racing and getting really competitive quickly. I was racing at Cycleland Speedway every weekend. My uncle would take me up there, Uncle Jimmy, and we would fight all the way up there, yelling at each other and about when to stop for me to go to the bathroom.
So nothing's changed. Nothing's changed at all.
He, just really fun times. And, I got to run in 3 cars in one night, 3 different classes. So I was running 3A mains, 25 times a year and 25 weekends in a row at Cycleland Speedway. And that's really what, sped everything up. And then getting close with the Larson family and the Bloom family, and them helping us to push me through to where I'm at today.
Now, was Logan was
I raced against Logan every weekend. Logan, Tanner Thorson, James Eden, just those guys really, really, it was really competitive. We were in the 250 intermediates, so we had 4-stroke 250 engines on one class, and then we had the open intermediate, which was like the 16 to 20-year-olds or the 12 to 20-year-olds. So there was a big gap there. And then our open class was like the 18 and above. And then they had the sportsman class, which was, I think, over 200 pounds or something.
All dirt, right?
Yeah, all dirt. And so they had a winter series at Red Bluff, and then they had the outdoor series at Cycleland. And you could go to some other tracks, but nothing raced as competitive as Cycleland did. And there was probably 300, 400 carts there every Saturday. And
you had a race to get in.
Yeah, you did. And
Chili Bowl every Saturday.
Yeah, and it was $200 to win. I mean, we weren't worried about anything. We were just wanting to race and hang out with our friends, and it was the time of our lives. And it's really what got all of us to where we're at today. I mean, those carts and racing every single weekend. We all ran 3 classes. We all raced against each other in 3 different classes, and it was a lot of fun looking back at it now.
All that seat time, all that experience being in that environment pays huge dividends all throughout the rest of your racing career. We had a chance to speak with you. I heard you say, and we can certainly see the passion in your eyes when you talk about your father's vineyard. It's also something you have a real passion for in terms of business. At some point, maybe take over the business. What is the future for Rico Abreu? How long do you stay in the racing game? Do you chase any of the stuff in NASCAR? Are you happy with where you're at? And how long do you stay here before you take over the vineyard?
Yeah, I just want to be a part of it with my brother and sister, and and more so with my father. And my father has started or created this very unique business in a valley that is only 30 miles long and probably 2 miles wide, where he's some of the best wine in the world comes from, and he has this management business where he helps maintain people's properties for them. And just my experience through racing and where I've taken everything with the merchandising side of things, the racing side of things, and then the business side of things in racing. So it's really helped me become who I am today, and I just enjoy it. Like, there's nothing about racing that I don't like or don't look forward to doing. If someone calls and wants to talk, do an interview on the phone, or if you guys want to get me in here last minute, I'll do anything I can to do it. And it's just because I enjoy spending time with you guys and enjoy spending time with the race fans that that half the time are so nervous to come talk to me. They ask me if I'm racing tonight, and I'm sitting there in my race suit next to my car, but I want them to feel comfortable around me. And I genuinely love racing, and more so sprint car, midget racing, non-wing, and being a race fan at these races, the Knoxville Nationals. I really want to win the Knoxville Nationals. I've really put in a huge push to win the Kings Royal, and those are the crown jewels of our sport. And it's and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win those races, and it's it's coming. I know it is, and it takes time. I'm in a very unique situation. I have this ability or this gift that I'm able to race a car comfortably and competitively, and I just feel that this is where I need to be, and I got the opportunity to go do NASCAR stuff, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't. It's not my cup of tea. I mean, it is for other people, obviously, and it's not really where I needed to be. I need to be here racing sprint cars in central, Pennsylvania and the Midwest, and following the World of Outlaws and All-Star Series and going to win the Kings Royal. I mean, that's what I look forward to doing.
We always appreciate having Rico Abreu on the show, be it remotely or, in this case, obviously inside of the studio. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to get the skinny on these guys and find out what it is that they love about this sport that we're all so passionate about. Hope you enjoyed the show here this week. For Rico Elmore and Rico Abreu, a.k.a. Twins, we hope you enjoyed this edition of The Skinny.